So in this video, we're going to do a little bit of math here, and to do that, I'm going to create a new JavaScript file here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up here, do File, Save As, and I'm going to name this math.js. Okay, cool. So I got this math.js. What I want to do is I want to go into my index and open it with Sublime, and I'm going to just change this to connect it with math.js. I think before it should say script.js there for you. Okay, I don't need my HTML anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. Let's take a look at this. What I want to do is I'm going to go var first number. I'm going to ask the computer for a couple numbers. So I'm going to get first number is equal to the prompt. Give me a number, please. Always important to have good manners. And I'm going to ask for a second number as well. And I'm going to store that as second number. Give me another number, please. Okay. So it's going to ask the user for a couple numbers. Store them as the variable first number and second number. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new variable called sum. And how am I going to get the sum? I'm going to do first number plus second number. Cool. So what I want to do now is I'm going to create a message. It's going to be called output. And my message is going to be simple. Cool. Those add up to, then I do a little plus, and I'm going to say sum. So now what I want to do is I want to say, let me just add these ones in here. Whoopsie daisies. And now I want to do document.write output, the output message. Let's see how that works. Okay, cool. Give me a number, please. 7. Give me another number, please. 5. Cool, those add up to 75. That doesn't make a lick of sense, does it? What it did is it took my 7 and it took my 5 and it literally just put them together with the old plus sign. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to convert these numbers that were given into actual numbers, because whatever I'm given here, it's going to assume that it's a string. So a string is a word like hello, right? And so when I give it, if I were to input 10, it would think of it as a string of just the letter, the number, like, no, just 1 and then 0, not the number 10. So what I want to do is I want to tell it, hey, that's a number. Right? So this is what I need to do to make that happen. I'm going to just put right in front of here, I'm going to just change this to parse int, like that. And what that means is I'm going to turn that into an integer. Let's check it out how that works. Okay, give me a number. 7, 5. Cool, those add up to 12. Thank God math's not broken. Watch what happens though if I do something like this. 5.52 and 1.1. 5.52 and 1.1 don't add up to 6. That's because I gave it to, I had to make those into integers. So it just took it right to where the integer was and cut it off. You can see that like this. If I take 1.99 and 1.9999, then it's going to say that adds up to 2. But if you were to estimate, you would say both of those probably round to 2, and 2 plus 2 would be about 4. If I want to round, what I want to do is, well, let's look at this website here real quick. In here, Mozilla developer JavaScript math, perfect. So let's close that out. No need right right now, Firefox. So this is a kind of log of all the different math things that you can do. It's pretty useful. So you can do some of that rounding stuff is in there. So we can do like math.round or any of that float or the integer stuff. If we want to deal with decimals, what I want to do is I need to do this as float. Parse float. We'll go back to that website here in a little bit to show you. So if I change those to float, now what I can say is I can say, okay, 4.2 plus 3.1, and it'll give me 4.2 plus 3.1, and it's going to give me the decimals. And you'll see that it does have this weird little message. We'll learn more about that in a little bit. But there's all sorts of different useful things in here that we can use. In fact, let's try some of it. Let's try some of this random stuff, which is right here. So if we have a random, this math.random thing, and I'm just going to do that first right up here in the code. Math.random. Let's see here. So math.random, lowercase, with a little. Okay, so I can just create a variable that is, I'm just going to call random, and it's going to be equal to math.random. Now, what math.random says that it does is it creates a kind of random number between 0 and 1. So let's take a look at that, and I'm just going to do an alert box with that and say, and I'm just going to alert that random number back to us, right? So let's see how that runs. Made a mistake. Math, so awesome, it needs to be capitalized. So what I want to do is I want to create a random number, and I'm just going to alert us to that random number. I'm going to do that just a couple times just to kind of prove the point here. Right? Watch what happens when I do this. I'm just going to create a random number, 0.08, 0.7, 0.6, 0.8, 0.3, all that, and all those big numbers, right? So what that's doing is it create a random number between 0 and 1. So how can I use that for my own doing? Well, let's imagine that I was rolling the dice, right? If I was rolling the dice, I have a random number between 0 and 1, and now I need that to become a random number between 1 and 6. So if I was going to do that, I would say dice, variable dice roll is going to be equal to whatever I got here as random, as my random thing, and then I'm going to do a little bit of math. So this little asterisk is the multiplication, this is division, this is subtraction, and this is addition, right? But I just care about this, it's multiplication. So if I multiply the number by 6, let's think about what we get, right? On the high end, we'd get a 1, which would bring me all the way to 6. On the low end, we'd get a 0, which would bring us to 0, which would get us pretty close the way there. So I'm going to alert dice roll right here. So let's see how this works. The page says 1.5. So 1.5 is not quite a dice roll. In fact, I only want integers there. So we're going to have to come up with a way of, what we've done is create a very annoying website. What I want to do is I want to come away of just getting exactly what I need and getting rid of all those decimals. So there's a couple different ways to round it. Let's take a look here and find some of them. So let's see, okay, floor. So math.floor, it returns the largest integer less than or equal to that number. So what that's doing is if it's 3.14, it's going to return 3, right? It's the floor of it, so it's going to round down basically every time. Ceiling is the opposite of that. It's going to return the smallest integer greater than or equal to the number. So ceiling is going to round up, basically. So what I want to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to say this is dice roll. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new variable called ceiling. So this will be the top one, and it's going to be that random number that I generated. But instead, I want to do math.ceiling of that dice roll. So basically, I want to round that dice roll up. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to do this with floor. And I'm going to do floor. And I believe floor is spelled out the entire thing, right? So what I'm basically doing is I get that random number that's close. If it's between basically 0 and 6, dice roll will be close, but it will have a bunch of decimals. So I could either, let's see here, and then I'm going to basically, I'm going to give us that random number so we can see what's going on, and then I'm going to print out that ceiling thing, and then I'm going to print out the floor number. So hopefully this works here and we can see what we're up to. I forgot a whole bunch of semicolons. My apologies. So let's see what's going on here. So the dice roll is a 1.9. So the next thing that my code should run is, because that was his first alert dice roll, right? So now it should be the ceiling. So the next one should be 1. Oh, ceiling's above you. Of course, ceiling rounds up. I was like, I think math's broken. But anyway, yeah, ceiling, of course, rounds up. And then the next one should be floor, which should round it down to 1. So the question is, if you were coming up with a random, oh, then these are all the other ones there. If you're coming up with a random dice roll, which one would you want? In this case, we're not going to want the floor, right? What we're going to want is the ceiling, because this number, the random number, the highest you can get to is that, like, you can get pretty close to, because it can go from 0 to 1, but not be 1. That random number can't be 1. So it can be like 0.9999, which will get this number really close to 6, right? So if I said floor, that really close number to 6 would then become a 5, and I would have no way of outputting a 6 there. So this is the way to get a dice roll there.